Mr. Manager.
It's always nice when you can turn reports over to other people, Mayor. Chief Mills and Community Development Director Rob Holmlund will be making a joint presentation tonight.
Well, good evening, Council and Mayor. We appreciate you allowing us to make this presentation to inform you of what's gone on and with the resolving the homeless problem as best we can and how we're going to move forward. If I can just take a couple seconds to bring you up to speed on a couple of things. First of all, this is not just Rob and Andy doing this. This is all of city staff. And while we're making the presentation, we've been guided by the city manager. Every department head has had input and is directly involved in this from their own perspectives. And so this is truly a team effort. The second thing is we have numerous people here in the audience today who have dedicated their lives to helping the homeless. And I just wanted to acknowledge their presence and also let you know that they are intimately involved with us. While there may be minor disagreements on how we move forward, the intent is to do everything we can to make the city safer and to work and help with the homeless. So I just wanted to acknowledge, first of all, the folks from AHA are here. If you can just wave, thank you so much. We met with them last Saturday and spent an hour and a half together and had a very robust discussion, and I appreciate that. We also have Miss Betty Chin here, and Betty's in the back. And everybody knows Betty's history and her desire and her fervor of helping people less fortunate. We also have John Shelter here. John, are you back there still? He told me earlier today that he's up to over 700 shopping carts. So bully for John. We still have about 1,000 more to go. But we're headed the right direction on that, and that's special. So as we get started, it's important for us to help understand that this is a decade or decades long problem that we're trying to move forward on. There's been a lot of talk, there's been a lot of study, there's been a lot of effort, but we think right now is a momentous time to move forward and to get some things done. Go ahead. Trackball, got it. Foundational thoughts as we move forward. I just want to make this pretty clear. We are still, as staff, 100% committed to the focused strategies rapid rehousing model. Nothing has changed with that. And we spent a great deal of time, effort, energy, and money putting that together. And so that is still the best evidence-based way to move forward. And we just want to make sure that, that we're putting that out there. Second is compassion drives this effort. Not only for the homeless, although that's a major piece, but also for the community. And many of the community members are frustrated, and we believe this is important to help solve. We do understand there's a high level of frustration in the community. I meet regularly with people. It is the #1 issue people talk to me about on a daily basis. There isn't virtually a day that doesn't go by where I get emails or phone calls from people who are exasperated. And so it's a poignant problem. We have community meetings on a regular basis where people are coming up to us, and some are even hinting of vigilantism. And that's the one thing I don't want to see. We want to have a civil, orderly society here in Eureka, and so that's important. But we also recognize that there are overlapping concerns. Homelessness, meth addiction, theft, violence in the Greenbelt areas, uncomfortableness of people walking, the list could go on. So we just want to recognize that this is all part of the foundation of why we're moving forward right now at this time. So how did we get here? Just a little bit of history. When I talk to people who are from Eureka, it's described as a Huck Finn community. Where Adam Yeager was telling me, he goes, Andy, we used to ride our bikes all over town and not even come home till dinner time and go fishing in the bay, and it was a great life. And I guess maybe it was just my mind. I could see him out in a little raft, out in the middle of the bay, with a bunch of 2x4s, looped together with some barrels under it. But that's the kind of town I think all of us want. And I'm almost a little envious of him growing up in a community like this, where you could do that. But times have changed. In the recent picture, homelessness grew due to several things that, at least historically, people have told me. Whether it's just anecdotal or whether it's actual, I don't think we have empirical evidence, but a local judge's decision to increase the amount of sustenance that people got. Social service giveaways was another piece that happened in the that was evidently increased. And then the marijuana industry leftovers, we certainly see some of that. People who have come here to be trimmers and then wind up staying and have all kinds of maladies, some of them. And then the current picture, there's an aggressive, violent subculture living among the homeless. Now, whether it's because of AB 109 or Prop 47, I don't know, but I think that has exacerbated the problem. We're seeing levels of crime in and amongst those camps and that prey on the homeless that we haven't seen before. And so we're very, very concerned about that. I am very concerned about that as chief. And then mental health and methamphetamine addiction are certainly driving the problem to an extent that is not helpful. So we're going to give you an operational overview, a 4-phased plan, if you will. Now, take the dates with a grain of salt. There are many hands in this pot. And while I'm trying to be aggressive and put a timeline together so we can move forward as quickly and as assertively as possible to get resolution, I do recognize that other people have opinions. And they may even disagree with me occasionally. But so we have to put these opinions on the plate and make sure that we're working with everyone to move forward in lockstep together, shoulder to shoulder, to make this thing happen. So it's a 4-phase plan. Next, we already did Operation Safe Trails. We may revisit that. Operation Helping Hands, Operation Clean Sweep, and then Operation Final Stretch. And we'll get in and describe these a little bit more here in a bit. Is that going to come in? First of all, Operation Safe Trails, I want to give you a recap of what happened. On April 15th, we went out into the green belt behind the mall, and with 50-plus officers from multiple jurisdictions. I want to thank the Sheriff's Department, CHP, Arcata, Fish and Game, U.S. Marshals, Probation. And we wound up arresting 27 people on a variety of charges. The goal was to eliminate the hardcore criminal element from those living in the Greenbelt. Now, let me distinguish between something. There are those who are breaking the law by sleeping out there. We have a municipal code that says you can't do that. But that wasn't our goal on this particular event. Our goal was to take the criminal element out who are preying on everybody, including the homeless. We weren't there for the purpose of eviction or trash removal. We've done that before. We have done it numerous times before. In fact, we do it on a regular basis. So why now? Why the big push now? Well, crime reports and calls for service in that area have gone up dramatically. And so when you notice increase in hardened, aggressive criminal element living in that area, it becomes incumbent upon us to do something about it. We had a person, as you know, that was stabbed in the mall, a woman who was just an innocent person. We've had an officer assaulted when on the mall detail. He had pepper sprayed in the face. We've had security guards chased around the mall. So this is a pretty aggressive criminal element, not to mention the amount of shoplifting that takes place in blatant theft. There's a dangerous subculture of violence and perdition. I didn't even know that word existed until Captain Watson put it in the PowerPoint. So, Steve was responsible for putting this whole thing together, and it was a great deal of time. It was over a month in the works to try to get the logistics and the coordination put together. And so I really applaud him on that. So behind the mall crimes, we had 3 stabbings, 3 shootings, 5 other felony assaults with deadly weapons, baseball bats, clubs, etc., a 1 armed robbery, and numerous reports of shots fired. And and it's also important to note that while we had an increase in crime reports and calls for service, the homeless, as you might imagine, don't frequently call the police. A, they're afraid of being arrested, and B, most of them don't have phones readily available. So we were seeing an increase. As you can see in the picture, and I'm sure most of you have seen that, there is the cache of guns that we've taken out of the encampments in the last few months. So 16 guns. According to the homeless that we interviewed, they're 50 times more likely to be victims of crime. That's a substantial amount rather than the average citizen. Officers, again, see 16 weapons. Officers arrested 27 individuals and contacted over 100 others in and amongst the Greenbelt on that one day. There's a high level of property crime in the community and around the camps. And now, when we're saying that it's probably related to many of the homeless, certainly not all, but many of the homeless, we judge that when we go into a tent and find 28 bicycles, and most of them have been stolen. Obviously, there's a problem of theft down there. Not to mention some of the retailers along the Greenbelt have one of the highest theft rates of those kind of stores in the area. You can't see it very well from here, but the guy who's being searched, there's an officer with the police emblem on his back. That shirt says "Lifer," and that, I think, is kind of indicative of the element that you're seeing. So the operational goal is to bring temporary relief, but we recognize, again, this is not a solution. The operational map, it's from Google Earth, and you can see all those little green dots on there. Those are all camps that we've identified. We did a flyover with Coast Guard, took photographs, and then worked with Riley Teplipsky to map all these. And these were we broke them up into operational areas. So the red, blue, yellow, and green and purple were all different teams that went into the green belts. Now, the cluster on the left side is about a group of about 20 people living in those camps, pretty tightly small area. The one on the right is actually an island surrounded by water. When officers went in there, they had to go in by boat. They commandeered a boat from one of the homeless folks, and it looked like a scene out of Deliverance as they were kind of going back there through the swamplands. The population behind the mall, we calculated more than 50 distinct camps prior to the operation, more than 100 individual tents and structures. It varies between 100 and 200 people. It depends on the day and who's there and if people are traveling through and who's there when we get there. The vast majority suffer from a variety of maladies. And the campers are erecting permanent structures as well as tents. So on the left, you see a log cabin that was erected. And those are all railroad ties that were taken off of the railroad. The middle one is just a tent, and then on the right you see a portable toilet that was installed by one of the campers that goes just into the ground. So can dumpsters and toilets solve the problem? Most camps are little more than a nest consisting of piles of garbage and shopping carts with a tarp over it. So we're just bringing in some toilets, and I talked to one person who works with the homeless regularly, and they brought in some porta potties, and coats and clothing got stuffed in there, and it kind of ruined the whole purpose of the toilets. Some of the people are not very high functioning, and so it's a problematic issue to deal with. Here's a fully enclosed house with a locking door. It's modern architecture. And that awning that you see in the lower right corner is stolen off a local business. Here's another tent, pretty common and typical of what you would see out there along the bay. So about the environmental damage. Well, a waste load of 100 to 200 people living without sanitation equals about 25 to 50 gallons a day of urine, and about 100 to 400 pounds per day of feces. That turns out to be 146,000 pounds of human waste a year that's being dumped into the marsh area there. It's the direct disposal into the bay. That doesn't even mention needles and other hazardous materials such as batteries and oils and spray paint from overspraying, bicycles that they're chopping up. There's a welding machine out there, all kinds of stuff that you could talk about. And it also doesn't include burning the vegetation and city property, including wooden fences, wooden fencing and materials. So one of these per month of urine is going into the bay. And phase 2, Rob is going to address that.
Thanks, Andy. So the next phase is to reach out to the homeless populations where they currently are. And the goal, long-term strategy, is to work towards rapid rehousing, the MAC, supportive housing, MIST, DHHS. We have a number of systems in place, and we need to get people connected to them. The MAC is going to be opening again in coming months, and we need to find populations that are ready for the MAC. And so working towards that goal, we are planning on hosting the Social Services Resource Fair Day, providing all of the local nonprofits, DHHS, any other homeless service providers that are willing to come to a day and go to the homeless populations and say, we're here to help. Here's how we can help. Here's, what services are available to you, what do you need, and start to create a dialogue. Explain that the community cares. These are members of our society that need help, and so let them know that the community cares and wants to help. Seek inclusion to the greatest degree possible, and invite them to relocate to a safe, dry, and warm place. And so Andy and I have met with AHA. I've gone to several AHA meetings, and they have 3 key phrases, and one of them is safe, warm, and dry. And so one of the goals now is to, in phase 2, invite the populations to a safe, warm, dry location, and to demonstrate compassion and availability of resources, and then also to clarify the timeline of events. And so we'll be going over what that timeline is. So the Betty Chin Center has a number of resources that they are willing to provide to the city to help. Active case management of the homeless. The Betty Chin Center is willing to be a foundation that will accept donations. So if anyone in the community wants to donate something towards this effort, they're willing to take the donations and filter the money and to help with the existing programs. Centralized feeding if necessary, and to prioritize those in need. So there's going to be a lot of people, and we need to prioritize, and so we need help with that, and Betty definitely has a lot of experience with that. We've been in dialogue with AHA to see how they are able to help. They have talked about the possibility and really encouraged us to work towards communicating with homeless, and so they've had a lot of input into this that we found very valuable. To help us manage parts of the effort and to assist with self-governance, and we're still talking with them whether they're comfortable and able to do that, but really pushing for them to help us where they can, and then to bring other resources to the table that they have available. And after that workshop and day where we get all these resources together, then it would go into phase 3.
So the idea is, in phase 3 is Operation Clean Sweep, is while we're waiting for the MAC to open and housing to be established, we recognize this is not going to happen overnight. To find adequate housing here and then find the finances to actually purchase the housing and allow people to live there. But once we've established a place for people to go, then the police will begin evicting illegal campers from city property and help private property owners who request it. So the back of the mall is going to be off limits to people camping once we've established a place for them to go, because we're kind of in a quandary. Where do you send people? Where do you tell them? Where do you direct them to go if we're going to evict them from a piece of property where they're already living? So it's a tough issue. again, and I've have it highlighted on the screen here. This is a temporary fix. We're not looking. This is not a permanent solution. The police will conduct regular maintenance operations to make sure that people are moving on, and the need for cleanups of trash removal. SWAP will do that with our Parks and Recreation Department. Again, this is not the permanent deal. It's only a part of the issue. So the most common question I get when I'm speaking with the homeless on these types of operations, and again, last week when we went out there, is, okay, Chief, tell us where you want us to go. And I don't have an answer for them. And my heart breaks, but at the same time, we can't allow it to continue the way it is. This isn't working. It's the need for organization and control of an ungoverned area and control of the people who are living out there. So part of the issue, I believe, is that when you have a large swath of land with lots of concealment is where we run into problems, because people can get away with doing things and hiding things. And so when you see this large swath of land that's hard for us to get to, like for instance when you have to take a boat and paddle out to an island where people are living, that's difficult for us to manage. And so it'd be much easier if it were all in one place. And then clean up without destination will just displace the problem. We don't want to displace this to Sequoia Park. We don't want to displace this to Cooper's Gulch. We don't want to displace this to the county. We want to manage it better. And now I would like to displace some of it to other places in the long term, but for right now, I think that we just need to manage it better. And then staff working with city, the staff is currently working with the city and then private property landowners to find a temporary, permissible outdoor emergency shelter where we can place people in the meantime. And what we're considering is a 90-day location. Enough time to hopefully get funds together to start putting people in permanent housing or a rapid rehousing. We're looking for a site that can hold up to 100 people, and I know that that's not optimal for many people. Some people think that's too big. And a suggestion has been made, well, then have 2 camps or 3 camps, different locations. We will take a look at all of that. We have several sites, and we'll discuss those a little bit later, that we are looking at to consider. What this allows us to do is draw resources to a single location. The SOS van from Health and Human Services, Betty, Chin, AHA, other people. There's a lot of people in Eureka who are very generous and who are doing a great deal of charity. This would allow people to come to one location for these resources. And then that'll also provide us with the ability to enforce the no camping citywide. So that when people do have a camping problem, we can come and give people an option. We can invite them to the places that have been provided. They can avail themselves of the TAP program if they're not from here, Transportation Assistance Program, or they can leave and go somewhere else if they choose, or they can go to jail. But it's going to have to be one of the above options. I don't see any others. And then hope to have a minimal impact on neighborhoods and communities that the people ultimately get placed in. We hope to have a separate shelter eventually. We've already had the discussion. We've identified a few properties for women and children. Some of the women are victims of domestic violence and sexual assault, and we want to make sure that if we can, we find a good, safe, warm, dry, secure place for them. Those who are ready to get off the street, we have another option that we're working on so that they are ready to go and they can be rapidly housed. Again, part of the triage, and that's the purpose of us repurposing the MAC with Department of Health and Human Services. But I think we can get to it before that if everything falls in place. And then there are those that are just in need of strong supervision. And we believe that the natural surveillance that will be afforded by a one location or two location camp would be very helpful for that, with a controlled access. And then also, there are still other resources available. The rescue mission still has beds available. I would encourage people to take that if they're so inclined. We also have community members, and I met a nice person at the AHA meeting who has been taking homeless persons into her own home and housing them. And so there's other options available out there that I think are just commendable. Conceptually, a nonprofit like Betty Quan Chin would take responsibility to manage the population and to do the triage for case management. A nonprofit could also help the population in self-governance, such as AHA, if we can come to agreement and make sure that everything's correct. And then, but we also would encourage the community to step up. This is an opportunity. A lot of people talk and are very concerned about these problems, but now it's time for them to step up also. They can provide things such as property, if they have access to property, or just helping and donating to people like AHA or Betty Quan Chin or others. So there's a variety of things that people can do, and now would be the time for us to move forward with that. The barriers to rapid implementation of this plan, and I underscore the line rapid, because I want to move forward as rapidly as possible, but I also, again, understand that others want to be a little bit more careful and make sure we manage this correctly. Coordination of locations to place the homeless. That's going to be the key element, is where do we find an adequate place that meets our needs. Effort to organize and manage the population. That's going to be another key element. And one of the things that many feel very strongly about is self-governance. Somebody needs to manage that. What I don't want to do is have police officers assigned there 24 hours a day. I think that's destructive. I think it's not what we need to do. We also want to stay on track with the housing first approach. We don't want to lose sight of our ultimate goal and keep pushing forward on that as rapidly and as determined as we possibly can. We also need to find the capital. This isn't cheap. We need to find the capital to fence the lots, to bring in portable restrooms, for lighting. How do we insure ourselves? Establish housing, whether it's tents or tiny houses or igloos. I mean, there's a variety of configurations out there, but most of them are fairly expensive. And then we also want to manage the legal process to make sure that there isn't a great deal of liability when it comes to this. And phase 4 is my colleague Rob.
Okay, so phase 4 is upon the end of the 90-day period, and perhaps even during the 90-day period, the MAC will open. And so the MAC will have capacity for 100 beds, and so that is a good opportunity to help the homeless population that are at the emergency shelter to transition to the MAC. During that period and afterwards, we can also identify and populate adequate homeless housing. So at the next council meeting, we'll be coming to you with a contract, or for approval of a contract with focused strategies to implement our to initiate our rapid rehousing implementation plan. And that is on a pretty fast track. We intend on completing that by June. And so in that study, we will be looking at the housing stock that will be available for rapid rehousing in the greater Humboldt Bay area. So not just Eureka, but Fortuna to McKinleyville and perhaps beyond. So where can rapid rehousing occur, not just in Eureka? And so that can be a major part of the this stage 4. And then measure the effectiveness of the programs and then close the emergency shelters. And so with that summary, and for some reason this slide doesn't seem to be working, but that just summarized the 4 phases in the timelines.
May we answer any questions that you might have?
Go ahead, Mary. Chief, I just wondered, some of the very succinct comments or slides you had where it spells out the devastation to the coastline have you guys shared this information with the Coastal Commission?
Actually,
or the Audubon or any of the people that have control over all of this stuff?
actually, Rob has had several conversations with the Coastal Commission, so I'll let him address that.
Yes, I wouldn't encourage us to pursue that path. They're only going to issue fines. I don't know that they're going to. We've asked them to provide resources, and so far, they haven't come up with any ideas on how they can help.
Kim?
Okay. Since you called on me, I just want to say bravo. Thank you so much for all the work you've been doing on this. It's phenomenal that, you know, in this short period of time, so much work has been happening and things have been moving forward. And I really appreciate a couple of things. One of the things is that this paying attention to dignity is huge, and treating people like human beings, you know, that is key. I really liked on the slide when you spoke about, I don't recall exactly what it said, something about being inclusive and helping people feel included. What a great opportunity to help people, and I don't want to say help, but to provide opportunities for people to feel better about themselves and to build our community, because that's where it starts, is building down below, building up. So I'm so excited about the possibilities that could be happening with this, and I'm just so grateful. I did have a couple of questions, actually. Can I ask questions now? So on the Social Service Resource Fair Day, so would you be taking the services and going right on the Greenbelt and like connecting with people, or would you be, would the MIST team be going and collecting people, or how would that exactly, I just, out of curiosity, how would that work?
We're still sorting out the details, so we'll take any recommendations you have on how to make that as successful as possible. But the vision right now is to, so tomorrow morning I intend on contacting all of the range of providers that I can get a hold of and asking them how they think it would best work. And then envisioning somewhere out in that north parking lot of the mall, a series of tables and booths and, you know, all the information and all of the providers that we can muster all together at a single time and make them available to anyone that wants to come and ask for help. But if there's a better way to do it, we're open to ideas.
Just one of the things we are doing with that is Pamela Millsap and Neil Hubbard are going out with flyers to each campsite and letting them know and marketing to them that there will be resources available on such and such a day. We're trying to nail down the days and who's going to be there on what day and so forth. Some prefer a real smaller, intimate environment. Some maybe a little bit larger with tents and almost like a job fair. We want to be able to accommodate both if we possibly can, because a lot of people have different experiences. Some have done a great deal of study and some have done a lot of years of work and kind of recognize how things work best for them. So it's kind of juggling some balls to make sure that it happens. But we are marketing to them. When we went out the 15th, we contacted every campsite out there and told them that this was coming. And so there's no secrets here.
Great. I think that's so important, and that's one of the things I appreciate about the MIST team is that we are meeting people where they're at and making it a lot, giving, again, opportunities to build them up and making it easier for them to make that contact.
If I can just add, Councilperson Burgell, that some of this is us learning. We're learning from our civilian partners. We're learning from community members and nonprofits on how to speak and how to act, and so that we can get the best product possible out there. So this has been a good learning experience for me, even after almost 40 years of being a cop. So.
Well, and I just want to say one more thing. And your willingness to be open to doing that, I think, is really, I can't think of a word right now, but it's fabulous. I mean, it truly is. It's thinking outside of the box for our area, and I really appreciate it.
We've done this before on the South Spit several years ago. Have we contacted, I don't know if there's any county people around that were involved in that particular operation, but it was similar to this, where we had several hundred people camping on the South Spit. They declared it a health emergency, went in and relocated everybody. So I don't know if there's still people in the county that were involved in that operation, but it might be well to connect with them and see how it was done then too.
Yes, we have been in touch with several who have had some involvement in that, and I know that Councilperson Cherubellini has a perspective on that as well. She was involved.
I want to take a quick vote to extend the meeting for another 5-10 minutes.
I move to extend the meeting for 15 minutes.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right. Moved and seconded. Go ahead and vote.
Unanimous yes vote, motion carries.
Okay, Melinda and then Natalie.
Well, I was going to wait till public comment, but I will comment on the South Spit, and that was going to be my first 2 words. And I know you know my opinion of campsites. You all do. Made it very clear. And I have lots of information and some information on the South Spit. There were well over 300 people out there, and it took a number of years to gather that number of people. Didn't have the internet back then, so it was all posting, on bulletin boards and little markets and coffee shops or whatever. But the cops and deputies and social services actually sent people out there because they'd send them out there and just leave them alone. Then it got to be such a problem that the county tried to evict them. Well, they didn't win that case in court, so they had to find another angle, which was a number of individuals had a form of diarrhea that was very infectious and spreading, so the health officer took action and was able to close the jetty. And it was another massive operation, just like you're describing here, with the involvement of tons of social services and others. And they managed to relocate over 300 people without setting up a temporary campsite. Because setting up another temporary campsite means now you have to dismantle another temporary campsite in 90 days. And if you're talking about 1, 2, or 3 campsites, and you're also talking about people that will not stay in those campsites. So you have people still in other parts of our city or Greenbelt area that you still have to deal with. So I support everything you're doing. I think you've done a great job, and I understand that you are on track with focused strategies. You know, I've been meeting with you guys for over 2 years now. But I just want to remind you, too, that our consultant focused strategies that we hired for a general plan housing element aspect of this does not recommend temporary campsites. In fact, I will quote from them by saying, finally, focused strategies strongly advises the city of Eureka not to pursue approaches directed at better managing the existing problems, such as by increasing the frequency of police sweeps or creating legalized camping area. These approaches do not solve the underlying problem that people do not have a safe or healthy place to live. And there is little evidence that management, in quotes, approaches do much to mitigate negative community impacts of the homelessness. So I am very supportive of the focused strategies approach to rapid rehousing, and I think we are so close to opening the MAC. I know that the Director of Health and Human Services is very supportive of getting that up and operational as soon as possible. And I would just ask that, please don't spend precious city resources on a 90-day solution that goes nowhere to ending homelessness. I can't imagine what this is going to cost. You haven't come up with that yet, but I hear fencing and lighting and porta potties and all of that for 90 days that could actually go towards rapid rehousing and other services and social services that can be provided directly to these people.
Natalie?
I'm personally grateful that this has come back before us with the sort of public safety approach. I think that that's the lens to look at this through, which will be most understood by the most number of people. So I did have two questions. One of them is, and you may not want to reveal the details right now because it may still be under discussion, but do you have sites in mind that are viable?
Well, it depends how viable.
I want to do this one real quick. too.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
So if I may, I'll answer or maybe address Councilmember Cherubellini's question about rapid rehousing. It wasn't really a question, but I'll turn it into a question. So if you remember my original presentation, in saying that this is a single person here, and these are each individual people, and our homeless population can fall into a number of different categories. And so for the people that are in green, rapid rehousing would work, and the people in yellow it would not, and the people in red are more of a criminal element, and they're going to end up probably in jail. And it could be that rapid rehousing works for more people and supportive housing is a smaller population. And that doesn't show it yet, but there's a 85% success rate for rapid rehousing. So if it's this population or that population, rapid rehousing will not work for everyone. And so it is not a cure-all solution. I just want to make sure that that's clear. We definitely need to go down that path. It is the most successful version of homeless assistance that's known so far, but it is not a 100% solution. So then, did you want to? Okay. So regarding your question, the sites that we're looking at, this is also from that original presentation. The mall parking lot is a possibility. The Crowley property, which is just south of the fire training grounds. The east side of the Samoa Bridge. And then finally, a private property owner on this property has come forward. And so this is the balloon track on the east side and has offered this property.
Which is already fenced, is that correct?
It is, yes.
And then go ahead. I had a question for council as well, but if you were going to expand on that, go ahead. Okay.
You got a question?
Do we see any legal barriers at this time that to this approach?
Well, we're still in the preliminary stages, but of course we've got the liability issue. So we will have to find somebody else to manage this property, manage the population. The best scenario is to have a hold harmless on behalf of the city, in favor of the city, so that we don't take responsibility for anything that goes on out there. But it's still very preliminary, and it depends on if we're going to do city property, we're going to do private property. It just depends on the scenario at this time.
Running onto that, right now we have all these folks on city property, correct? So are we going to just like it wouldn't be any worse, would it?
Well, the difference is, as I understand, is we're going to put them hopefully in some sort of controlled space, have somebody manage them, help them find services. So right now we just have them out there illegally camping, obviously violating the municipal code. They're not there with our permission. This would be a place where they can camp legally.
All right.
Mayor, one other thing just to add, we did not put this on as an action item tonight. It certainly came on as a report because we really felt it was important to get this in front of the council with the idea that but we certainly want to get direction from the council as to whether or not this is an approach you like, want us to continue kind of working on the details of this, and we'd certainly be coming back to probably the next council meeting with more details worked out, whether it's next one or the one after that.
All right, thank you. It is late, but I'll allow about 5 minutes for public comment if there's anybody that would like to come up and comment on the the item. So please step forward.
Hi, everybody. And normally, I don't like to talk because this is not my comfort zone. I want to talk because I want to say thank you to Chief. You've done an absolutely wonderful job. Every morning, 4 o'clock, I walk through the behind Basil Mall. I notice, I smell, I feel the scare in there. But now I walk through there, I feel much better. I still go there every morning. And since this happened, and yesterday we have 45 people leave behind Basil Mall, come to center, ask for assistance. So we do case management for them. And I personally, I found 6 houses in housing, permanent housing already. And we have 7 non-tap programming, private money donation for bus ticket for they go home. We found a lot of sick people come out behind Basil Mall. We help them, assistance for the medical care for them too. And thank you very much. Clear up there, the people feel free to come out to help. And then we still open the center every morning. I pet the people. They ready to do the case management, anything. I tell them, or they come down to the center. We are open the door for those people already. And I would do everything, work with city. You guys so wonderful to me. Time for me to pay back.
All right. Thanks, Betty.
Good evening, City Council. My name is John Shelter, New Directions. We've been working behind the Bayshore Mall for quite some time now. We've over 300,000 pounds of trash. The police chief is right. There is a lot of camping back there. Majority is on city property. I maintain the mall property. Not saying we don't have campers there too. We do have some that come in, and we have to get law enforcement to help us also. But there is more than just one person in town that can help manage this, and it's going to take a bunch of us working together to do this the right way. I do suggest not one camp, but giving people, if you are going to establish a camp, different type of camps. The population I work with, that I get back to work and everything, would probably not do well in a camp that's strictly with substance abuse users and mentally ill, which is what we have out in the marsh now. We take them out of the marsh. Most of the time I transition them into houses that we've extracted the homeless that broken into houses. The landlords need time to redo them, so we come in and we start remodeling them. We have a project right now on Del Norte that we're getting ready to do the outside, right across from the Senior Resource Center. At one time, 22 homeless people lived in it. So other than that, the one thing I do have to say to the police chief is those awnings came from Applebee's when they did their remodel. That was the 3rd time I brought them back. Today I folded them in half, tore up the canvas, and then brought them back to Applebee's again. So, and I'm working with the captain on a list of individuals that are leaving their stuff behind their businesses that make it readily available to the homeless to build houses, which I've been helping law enforcement take down also. I thank you very much.
All right, thanks.
Council, city manager, staff, everybody. I'm representing AHA, and I have some information here for you. This is our first time of hearing the extensive report, just like you. We did have some conversations about what could happen, and we were pretty clear that it was going to happen soon. And AHA has some pretty strong guiding principles that we operate by. So if we can participate, we will. We are really happy to see the conversation about a sanctuary camp or camps in your lap and before the public, because it's what we've been coming before public bodies for a long time asking for. It's here, and we would like to participate to the extent that we can. We are about supporting a variety of solutions. I have our flyer for you that have all of the potential solutions on it. I also, am I going down that fast? That can't be.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Okay. Didn't think I was going that fast. Anyway, we want a variety of safe, affordable solutions or options, and we've presented this to the community. They've proven successful in other areas. You've heard it mentioned before. Our moniker is safe, warm, and dry first. That requires, in our mind, not so many people as 100 or 50 even, and multiple places to make them livable. We want people to be able to get stabilized, to make progress, to feel what it's like to be in community, and to want to participate. And I don't think it can happen without some of those things. Anyway, what we'd like to do in order to continue and to partner with the city, if we could do that, would be to have clarity on what the city is providing for sites and or for sanctuary camps, including utilities that would be available at the sites and services, something eventually that we could hold on to and have in writing. We'd ask for the things that have been dissed a little bit here, which are porta potties and dumpsters, and some early outreach being in the site, so that I like the idea of a services fair. We thought that's a good idea, but to everybody go out in hordes on the day you want to bring people in doesn't sound like a feasible idea. So going out and having dumpsters, for example, available, if you're going to be asking people to make a move, giving them an opportunity for them to decide what they want to get rid of. And also, I heard talk about providing expensive tents and facility for people to stay in, but maybe people would just want to use the tent they have. So it could be more simple than what it's being imagined to be. But we've been asked to help with sort of this clearing out of Devil's Playground and setting up an alternative, and that's something that we'd want a lot of people involved in. We want to see a county-wide commission or a task force or something, because people they're going to disperse. They're going to go to other areas. That's what's always happened. If you go back to the South Spit, that's what happened at the South Spit. A lot of people went a lot of other places. And so, anyway, we'd like facilitation with that. And if we can, a place to begin. If the city wants to grant a parcel or a site, and we can take a lead in doing that with the development of it in conjunction with all these other services, we'd like all the stakeholder groups to be involved, and the services needed in order to successfully relocate up to 300 people. That's a lot of people into sanctuary camps or toward a more permanent, sustainable living situation. But really, we don't have other options. And if we close that and close people out, that's only this area out here. There's a lot of other people that are roaming around and need facility too. Anyway, if we could take some kind of a lead, we would, given the right conditions. So.
All right.
I don't have these connected. They're two pieces that go to everyone. So if you take.
If you can give them to Pam, she can make copies. So.
Take them both. Thank you. And if anyone else from AHA would like to speak, I wish they would.
Okay, we're up against a clock here. We'll have to extend the meeting again if we're going to have any more public comment.
Well,
Richard.
It won't take me very long.
Richard. Sorry. Please sit down. Thank you. Okay, do we want to extend the meeting further? I don't see. Do you have any more Mr. Manager?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. Then we're adjourned.